Are you coming back to school with me? We could have done it all so easily.
Hi, my name is Craig Thompson-Wood. I'm your host on Teaching with Board Games. Back again today for another installment in the Monopoly May month. This month I've been looking at different ways in which people are using Monopoly as a teaching tool, which goes outside of using it as just the regular game in its regular way. Last week I'd looked at an author who only identified himself as Zach on his blog, and how he was using it in these ways for his economics class in high school. But where Zach had got his ideas from was from this person who I'm going to look at today, which is Ryan T. Cragun, the professor of sociology at Tampa Bay University of Tampa. And Dr. Cragun is doing some great things with Monopoly. So last week I'd looked at Zach's work and what he's using in his economics high school class. Zach got his ideas from Dr. Cragun. Now, Zach, when I say took his ideas from Dr. Cragun, is that he took the original designs and rules that Dr. Cragun had come up with and modified them even further, just streamlined them more, simplified them more to make it that he could do it within his time frame of his high school class. So he had a different limitation than what was originally presented. So while I have looked at the work that Zach is doing, remember that it was a condensed version of what Dr. Cragun's doing, and I condensed even further into just to give you a quick idea of how it's being done. I don't plan on doing longer versions of it just because Dr. Cragun's done longer versions. I would invite you, please, go. We'll be putting a link in the comments section to Dr. Cragun's work, and you can go and look at them for yourself and see all that he's put in there, because it really is quite in depth and quite detailed and very interesting. And I think definitely merits some recognition and some, a look at. So please do go and take a look at that. But what I'll be doing today, like in Zach's work, he had looked at these different forms of sort of economic styles, government styles, in which Monopoly could help students to understand them, rather than just reading about it in a book, but actually experiencing life in a Monopoly world through the play of a game, but with those certain restrictions in place. So the ones that were looked at last week were capitalism with social class, so you have your upper class, your middle class, your lower class. There was communism, as it is in the Soviet Union. Communism, Karl Marx's ideal of communism. Socialism, Western European socialism, a lot of government bailouts and rent caps and things like that. So go back and look at all those in my previous video last week, but one that Zach did not do, and which is what I'm going to be showcasing today from Dr. Cragun's work, is the capitalism, where there's a focus on race, ethnicity, sex, gender discrimination. So without any further introduction, let's just get right to the table, and I'll take you through how this is played. So playing this version of Monopoly, the capitalism, race, ethnicity, and sex, gender discrimination version, what you are going to need for starters is 6 players. It needs 6 players to be able to function properly, to show all the different roles of the people that they want to be shown. Now, rather than just using the hockey stick, the beaver, the goose, the things that are in here, just to make it a little more clear who I'm referring to, I went into my Heroescape collection. This is the nice thing about Monopoly too, is you can, if you have a favorite piece from another game or a favorite miniature or whatever, you can use them to represent things. But I grabbed them because I was able to find most of them represented in my collection. So I've got a black woman, a white woman, I have a white man, a black man. Now, I didn't have anything in my thing that was specifically Hispanic, so I went with these. I'm not trying to be offensive in any way or anything, but this one, the skin tone is more the what I'm looking at. And then I thought, okay, well, just to make it clear, with the wings then, so this would be the Hispanic man, Hispanic woman. And so this would be the 6 players. You'd start off at the beginning, and each player of the game would draw a roll randomly. You write them on slips of paper perhaps, and each player draws one, and that is going to be their roll for the game. So if you are a white player, so the white man or the white woman, you're going to start the game with $2,000. If you are a black or Hispanic person, then you are going to start the game with only $500. So turns, when you start the game, the turns go the white man first. The white man goes first. Now, white man will roll the dice. He is allowed to either add or subtract one from the dice depending on what he's rolled and what he wants to go for. So now what should be noted too, so the white man as he's going, he could go to the territories here. Now the white players are the only ones who can buy these, what would be the utilities in the regular game, or these would be the train stations, and only the white people can buy those or have the 2 utilities. So he would probably want to go there, so just stay with the 5 and then purchase that territory, and so that way it's his. So, and then after that the white female goes and she rolls 3. So she go 3, she can add 1 minus 1, so she might want to go there and try her luck getting a card. Cards play out as normal. Then the black male goes and he rolls a 3 as well. So he's now the black male and female can subtract 1 from the dice if they want to, as opposed, but they cannot add like the white people can. So he's going to subtract 1 to go there and try his luck with the card as well. The black female goes, rolls a 6 to Meech Lake. Now only, like I said, only the white people can buy the railroads and the utilities. Only the Hispanic people can buy on this row here, only the black people here, and this section here, so that what would be red and yellow, green and blue on the regular Monopoly board. So this whole last section is what the white people can buy. So the white people are not allowed to buy any properties on the first half of the board, but any of the colored people are not allowed to buy on the other half of the board. Now, the exception is if a black or Hispanic person rolls doubles landing on one of these properties here, if they roll doubles to get there, then they are allowed to buy properties in those areas. So the Hispanic male would go, he gets a 10, he's just passing through jail there, but not actually going to jail. And then she's going to come to Lake Winnipeg and she will purchase that one to start trying to make some income. So as the play continues around the board, you're going to have those opportunities. As I said, you're going to play the regular game where people are able to purchase properties in their specific locations, in their areas. Whereas I said the blacks and the Hispanics could be buying in the upper region here on this row across here, which would normally in the regular game be red and yellow, if they are rolling doubles to get to that spot. Now, it should be noted too that if either the black players or the Hispanic players get 2 of the properties in this area here, so say this one was owned by the white player, this one by the black player, then the Hispanic player came and bought that one. Once 2 of the 3 have been bought by players that aren't white, the white player has to sell their property and move out. So that's one rule that they have there. As you go around and as you pass go, then everybody's going to be treated differently again. The white man is going to receive $400 for when they pass go. The white woman receives 65% of what the white man makes, so she'll get $260 for passing go. The black man gets $200 when he passes go, whereas the black woman receives 65% of that, which would be $130. The Hispanic man receives $150 when he passes go, whereas the Hispanic woman receives 65% of that, which is $100. So again, depending on race and gender, your amount of money you're going to be collecting each round is also going to be affected. Now, looking at the jail space, so if anybody has the go to jail or gets the card which sends them to jail, directly to jail, do not pass go, etc., then they are treated very differently in the jail system here. So white women and men who go to the jail only go to jail if they rolled either an 11 or 12 to land on the go to jail space. So if they rolled a 4 and landed here, or like anything between 2 to 10 to land on the space, then they don't go there. Only if they rolled 11 or 12 to that space, or if the community chest card or the card they got told them to go to jail, those are the only situations where they actually have to go to jail. If they do go to jail, then they have to roll above a 4 during one of their subsequent turns to be released. If they did not roll above a 4 within 3 turns, they are released on good behaviors. And that's 4 on 2 dice. So it's highly likely to happen. And the black players who go to jail must go to jail no matter what. If they land on this tile or they get a card, they're always going to jail. They must also go to jail if they land on the just visiting jail tile. So if a black player were to land on this space here, they also go to jail. And if they roll an even number and land on a green or blue tile, they must go to jail. So if they're in this space here and land on one of the properties and the number they rolled was an even number, so not 11, but say 10, then if they land on one of the properties, they go to jail because they don't belong in that neighborhood, and the police are suspicious. But they still have to pay rent, of course, if they land on the property. To get out of jail, they have to roll either a 10 or a 12 on the 2 dice. If they do not roll a 10 or 12 within the next 10 turns, they're considered to be serving a life sentence. If return all their assets to the bank, are bankrupt and are now out of the game. Hispanic players who land on the jail have to roll doubles. However, when they're rolling the dice, if they roll a 3 or a 5, they're found to be in the country illegally and deported. If they are deported, their assets are returned to the ownership of the bank. They are bankrupt and are now out of the game. So, interesting again, showing the unfair treatment of different people based on ethnicity and race in the jail system too. It helps people to understand as they're going through this. That's just really showing how unfair it is. So taxes, white male players who land on the income tax base over here will pay the equivalent of the capital gains tax, which is their income for pass and go, which is 15%. So they're getting $400 when they pass go, so they're paying 15% of that, which is $60. The white female players pay 20% of the income they receive for pass and go, which would be $52. Black players who land on this space pay 50% of the income they receive for pass and go, which would be 30 for the men, 20 for the women. And the Hispanic who roll doubles and land on the income tax base are found to be using fraudulent social security numbers by the IRS. As a result, they are deported. They forfeit all their assets to the bank and are out of the game. Otherwise, they pay 10% of their income for pass and go, which is $15 for men, $10 for women. So there's another situation where these people are going to be deported from the country. Just again, the kind of treatment that they're facing. So for rent and utility costs, whenever a black or Hispanic player lands on someone else's property, they pay just 80% of the rent. However, the first time they land on the property, they must pay a deposit that is 4 times the regular rent. White people just pay the regular rent. Whenever a black or Hispanic player lands on a utility, they pay the full amount, but they also pay a deposit that is 4 times the amount they are required to pay the first time they land on that utility. So the game's going to end when one player goes bankrupt and whoever the remaining player is wins. And that is racist Monopoly. So what I really love about this, what Dr. Cragun's doing here, is just, like I said, just taking the concepts which people hear about, but unless you're living that kind of experience, it's hard to appreciate what's happening. Now, I'm not saying that, by playing a game of Monopoly, suddenly you're going to become so self-aware and realize the things. I mean, because as soon as the game ends, you go back to your regular life, and whatever role you were playing in the Monopoly game is going to, it really doesn't mean anything, but at least it gives a sense. Helps people to understand and experience, like even for that moments, whatever moments they are playing that game, to appreciate that not all people are being treated equally, and how these numbers, like the fact that women are making less than the men when they're pass and go, is a very real thing, where women doing the same job as men in our society are getting paid less for doing the same job. I mean, that's just not right. So a lot of these things in here are just helping people to become aware, and as I say, in some way, by being able to experience it, it just gives people a little more cause for reflection and can maybe spur some people into action. So I like it for the what it can do to teach. And I just like the fact that he's taking a game which is so familiar to us, which we all know, Monopoly, but using it and taking it and changing it in a way that is an educational tool. And I think that's fantastic. So if you're aware of any other ways which people are using Monopoly, maybe you yourself are using it in a very creative way to help teach difficult topics, then please leave me that message in the comment section below. Really love to hear from the viewers about these kinds of things. We'd love to get some more ideas about games like this and how they're being used. If you're new to the channel, then what I'm doing is I'm putting out content on a weekly basis around topics of gamification, game-based learning, things like Monopoly, and how people are using it to help teach. If this sounds good to you, then please do remember to hit like and subscribe down below. It really does help, and I do appreciate it. And again, if you have any ideas for things you might like to see on the channel, anything about topics you might like me to discuss, or if people want me to interview, games you want me to review, then again, leave me that message in the comment section below. That's going to wrap it up for today's episode. Until next time, I'm Craig Thompson, with your host on Teaching with Board Games, saying thanks for coming to the classroom.
Are you coming back to school with me? We could have done it all.